Steve Schwartz.
Present.
Ken Alexander.
Present.
Sue Mackey. Present. Steve Nation.
Present.
Mr. President, we have a quorum with Mr. Fred Gwynn not in attendance.
Thank you so much. And tonight the invocation and pledge of allegiance will be by Council Steve Nation. You will all rise.
Please bow your heads. O Almighty Father, I pray that you will bless and protect, lead, and direct us as we serve the citizens of Hamilton County. I ask this in your Son's name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time I will open the second public hearing for preliminary determination to issue general obligation bonds, Series 2022. This time I will open the public hearing to public comment. So anyone from the public who would like to come forward and speak. This time I will close the public. Yes. Go right ahead.
My apologies, members of the council. I did just want to do some introductory remarks. Dennis Otten with Bose McKinney Evans. This is the second public hearing on the general obligation bond issue. We do have with us Oscar Gutierrez from Bondry and Josh Tannock with Robert W. Baird, the underwriting team. And I don't know if we want to mention it now, but I would like to say there was some technical changes to the ordinance, if you saw in your packets, that were due to the reassessment. This ordinance was introduced in August, and we've sent those to you, and it's purely a function of the higher assessed values coming in. But in terms of the par amount of the bonds, the interest rate, what was stated, all the other principal terms of the obligations are the same. But I did want to mention that in case there are any questions. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who would like to come up and speak or comment on this issue? Seeing none, this time I will close the public hearing. And I would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number CC 0803222-A.
So second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. We are moving on to public hearing number 2. This time I will open the public hearing. I will entertain comments from the public. Anybody here from the public that would like to speak on this issue? Seeing none, we will move to adopt ordinance number CC 08032-022-B. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. This time I will close this public hearing. Move on to item 6 on your agenda. I would open the public hearing for the 2023 budget. Public comment? Is there any? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move on to our agenda. At the bottom of your agenda, if everybody's had a chance to read, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. This time we'll start the regular Hamilton County Council meeting. 9722. Executive session, memorandum 10/5/2022.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Also, item C on your agenda is the joint meeting minutes of 8/23/22.
Second. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. This time, I would entertain public comments For any public comments that do not pertain to our agenda. Is there anybody here that would like to come and speak? This is your opportunity. If not, we'll move on to committee and officers report. President, I have nothing. Vice President?
I don't know.
Nothing. Highway?
We met and will be discussed further in the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Finance?
We did have a meeting, we met with Mike, he wanted our direction whether to meet with him or come to tonight's meeting. Basically, our budget was a little over $2 million out of balance, but with our substantial cash, we used that money for strategic funding, and, so it will have no impact on our bond rating or funding or whatnot. Instead of, instead of bonding, we used some of our cash to pay for maintenance items, and that's what put us in the red. That was different from our last budget hearing, so he wanted to run that by us. I felt like me and Kim could pass that along to you, so he didn't have to come. Everybody understand what I'm talking about?
We're just paying down some of the.
Yeah, we paid with cash rather than, incur more bonds for our rather large, maintenance items that were in this year's budget. Okay?
Personnel?
We met as a poll, we had a poll, rather, and you'll see it on the agenda.
Perfect. Anything on miscellaneous? So, no. Excuse me. We're gonna move on to unfinished business. Plymouth County, Indiana debt management policy, which was adopted on 9/7/22. There's a motion.
I'll motion to ratify the resolution number CC 090702.
Then moved and seconded. Any discussion on this issue?
As Auditor, please feel free to weigh in. This was just needing to ratify. We already approved this in the previous meetings. It was just getting a resolution.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to item 11, which is table business.
We need to vote on that.
We had a motion to do not vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Table business, item A. Item B. We will move on to new business.
You want a motion to?
I would entertain a motion on A or B.
I'll motion to table survey and ECC here and answer questions.
Okay. Mr. Ward, could you come to the podium? Sorry.
Second.
Discussion.
So,
What is the,
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
what is the discrepancy between what the surveyor's asking now and what he asked for in the budget?
well, I think the part of this is that we, just so we know, we've already appropriated these dollars, but we don't have a last meeting. To your point, which I think is what we want clarification from, is there was communication that said that we did not have this in the 2023 budget. It is in the 2023 budget. Is that accurate, Jeannie?
Yes, we asked at the last meeting if there was a new request for pay for 2023. The answer was no, then we found out it was in the 2023 budget, and that was where it was on.
And so when we were adding up the people that were added on with our budget, there was one in the surveyor's office. That's what we went on, that we had not done from that.
Okay, so my question is what the surveyor is asking for, the part-time, or the 2 part-time positions, or,
2 part-time positions.
and that's in addition to the position we're gonna add, or was it a part-time position in the budget hearing?
Could you explain to us what happened? Because I think what I've heard is that there was maybe a misunderstanding or communication there for a couple of months or delay. Since we haven't spoken.
Well, the way I understand it is that the one part-time position for the inspector was approved for this year's budget. And if I'm wrong, correct me.
For 23?
For 22, for the inspector.
Yeah, you've got, yeah, that position already exists.
That's E2.
Yeah. And I made a couple changes to the job description, which that is before you today, those changes. And they're minor changes.
Do those changes have to do with pay scale?
No.
Okay.
So then on number one,
And then on the plan reviewer part-time, that one I had taken to HR, asked for the position to go to WIS. They sent it to WIS, and then I got it not too soon before budget hearings. And by that time, I needed a position. So what you saw in the budget hearings was my first request for the 23 budget. Correct. So what this is I need that position now, so, for 2022. So that's what I'm asking for today.
So do you have funding to fund this position between now and the end of the year?
Yes, you gave that to me last meeting.
Okay, and then in 23, it's already in
It was in the budget. Correct.
Okay.
I think the only, and just saying, I guess when we had the meeting last month, when I asked, actually Brad asked, do you have any positions at budget hearings? And you had indicated no. And then we asked, was this in your 2023 budget? And you had indicated no. I was trying to understand where the disconnect was. So what I'm hearing is there was a delay between you going to HR going to WIS, and it came in before budget hearings, and you had asked for it, and it just, now you need it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a disconnect.
All right, so both of these positions for 2022, you already have the funding for,
Yes,
and they're also accounted for in 23's budget.
correct,
So you just need the permission to hire, not the money to do it.
correct.
Okay?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I assume we only did item one. We need to
I'm
do.
nay on that vote.
That's for number one.
That was for number one, so now we need a motion and a second for number two.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Moving on to new business, approval of vendor claims.
So moved. You got a motion?
You got it, that's second.
Okay.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. At this time, introduction of bond and appropriation ordinances, the general obligation bonds of 2022-B.
I can make that motion to approve.
Yeah.
You want a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded.
All right.
Now discussion. I will ask you that if you could adjust that microphone closest. Thank you. It's hard for us to hear.
Okay. Is that better?
Closer to your mouth.
Close, yeah.
I'm
That'll work.
going to lean down.
There we go.
There we go.
Thank you.
Okay, this is a bond issue.
So this is an introduction, and we're not going to need a motion tonight, correct? Or is that what you're going to explain?
So it can be introduced and accepted today, or you'd have to suspend rules. It'd have to be unanimous of all the members present, but you can do that, and that's not a problem. The hearing will still come later in the process. But this can be an actual adoption of the ordinance, subject to suspension of the rules if the council so wishes.
Okay, so could you walk us through the reason for why that suspension of the rules would be an appropriate action?
In this case, and I would also defer to our municipal advisors, but in the interest of the increase of AV for the county,
it's best in the county's financial planning interest to ensure that this is actually a bond that is in 2022. And so this is to get it, be sure it's in 2022. We could do that either way. However, we saw a 75 basis point increase by the Fed recently. You could expect that again, and this gives us a better opportunity to potentially get these issued before there's an additional increase from the Fed.
I understand. All right, well, then in that case, we'll let whoever Connor give us a short story, and then we'll be ready for a motion, right?
We need a motion to suspend the rules before
I
we do
understand
that.
that.
So I'm gonna withdraw my motion.
Yeah,
before.
okay.
Who made the second?
All right,
And I will motion to suspend the rules.
second.
Okay.
Just for
Motion,
clarification
second.
I was just going to say, for clarification for adoption on the first reading.
And so please make that accommodation with my motion.
Okay.
And so this is a ordinance that would not exceed $5,815,000 and other terms, par and others that go into it. And this is the terms as general, obviously subject to future meetings with ratings and figuring out where we'll end up when it prices. But this would be the issuance for the domestic violence facility to fund the construction of that, or the purchase of the facility after a BOT is issued, which the RFI has been issued for that.
I thought we were on a different issue. Okay, so if we suspend the rules, we go ahead with this. Is this appropriation?
Connor, can you come forward? We've got a couple questions for you too.
No, this is just for, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, for it's just to issue the determination to issue bonds, and so that they can go out and secure interest rate, correct, Oscar, and as Tom was saying, the basis has gone up several basis points. This is not putting money ready for construction or anything like that. Design and everything will come afterwards, and so we're not using any money or anything. It's not being appropriated today. As Tom mentioned, we are using the BOT procurement method, and the request for information was sent out publicly last week. So we're going to wait for the private sector to send their ideas or concepts for this program. And at that point, we'll be able to make a decision on what the county wants, and then we'll go through design and that part of the BOT. So this is not paying for, this is not including our appropriate money for construction or design or anything like that today. Just for the.
I'm comfortable with that.
And the hearing on appropriation is scheduled next month.
Next month, so.
Well, at that time, will we have information about the contract, the design, and any kind of information coming back from the RFI?
The RFI.
We'll have information from the RFI. We won't have an RFP response or hard bids, but we'll know what the universe of people that are interested in it and what they're saying is possible with regard to it.
Is the expectation that this is a bot delivery and that you would have a GMAX that would then be agreed upon that would be within the money that we would be appropriating, and it would fit and fulfill the design standards as put in with the RFI?
Correct. And it would be a purchase of the facility, actually, at the end of the day, is where the money would actually go.
Connor, could you share that RFI with council?
Yeah, absolutely. I can send that to all of you after this meeting, and then once we get responses and everything too, we'll make sure you guys are included in those conversations as well.
Didn't I hear him think, didn't I hear the other gentleman say that he was expecting an appropriation next month?
That would be put forward for us to appropriate dollars then, yes.
Well, I'm not appropriating anything until there's a project, and I haven't seen any paperwork. I see paperwork for bonding, but what we're gonna build, how we're gonna build it, how much it's gonna cost, you can pretty much expect that I will be a no vote if there's no project in front of us that tells us what we're building, which we don't have at this time. You understand what I'm saying, don't you, Con?
Yes, sir. And Tom, correct me too, but the project budget, regardless of whatever it is, will not exceed 5.85. So
I understand that, but I don't want to see a two-car garage either,
Well,
so.
it's similar to how, I think, when we were appropriating money, that there was an attempt to appropriate, we'll discuss it, is Baker's Corner, as far as appropriating money without having the full plan. I think that's all he's saying, he wants to see the plan, we're not gonna appropriate any dollars.
And I should clarify too, the hearing next month for the appropriation, that frees up so when the bond does close, the money will be available and they'll already authorize it going into the correct fund line item so you can start using. So just because you have the public hearing next week for it, doesn't mean bonds are issued, doesn't mean cash is put in the stuff. It's just one step in the bond. The bond for itself, I don't believe it closes until later this year, which at that point you would have the RFP for DOT. So the appropriation hearing next month is just more so when everything's ready to go.
Yeah, but from a county council standpoint, once we appropriate it, we don't ever see it again.
You, I believe it's still hold the bond back, that Tom, or is that?
Not once it's issued.
Yeah.
I mean, what it will do is absolutely set the top line on it.
I understand what you're saying. Your appropriation probably isn't guaranteed.
Can I ask, what happens if this ordinance is approved and the bonds are issued, but the money's never appropriated? What eventually happens? I mean, I assume there's bond costs.
At that point, we'd have to address that.
Is that your question, Brad?
If the bonds are not issued, none of the,
Am I being unclear here?
I mean, it would be weird to approve bonds for not appropriated.
Well, that's right. It'd be weird to give $5 million if you've never seen a building.
Not arguing that at all.
And I think my question is, because I'm a big supporter of this, and I was a part of the original group that was in discussion. There was no RFI, as far as the information, I didn't have any discussion, so has anybody on the council been a part of those discussions?
I was originally, but it's been months.
Right, okay, and that's I think, the concern, because I think we've had many conversations about it, but then it did go silent, and so then where did the RFI come from?
the RFI was intended to, we were going down an RFP run. And it was unclear we had the requirements. We needed to do a strong RFP that would actually yield a project that we'd be comfortable with, or that we thought Hamilton County would be comfortable with. So we took a step back in the process. The RFI isn't going to award anything. It's asking for information from potential bidders, whether or not they would be interested in the project and how they would approach the project, so we can then take those elements and put that into an RFP so that we have an RFP that most clearly reflects the county. And not to speak for Connor, I'm sure he'd be happy to share as we get responses from that and then actually put together the RFP.
If I could just ask a quick question. So the RFI, soliciting, the general scope of the RFI, is it construction as well as design and operations?
So the RFI seeks two types of respondents, either in teams or individually. One will be a constructor that will construct the transitional housing facilities and then also act as a developer with regard to an administrative branch of it that the commissioners would like to see outside of essentially the cost of the county. And so
Is design included in that scope?
it will be.
Okay, so I just want to ask that question. So my follow-up question to that is Connor, is this is a little bit different than what we did with the garage, because we had a land exchange and all sorts of other things, and so that was different. We had an RFP with a builder associated moving forward. Is money spent out of this during pre-construction, or will it be spent once the is turned over?
Once the RFP issued and awarded, that's when the money will be start,
So we are paying for pre-construction through this bot program?
We would be, but there is a reimbursement resolution, and we have not incurred design fees or construction stuff at this point. That will happen until after we have our RFP selected. And so it would be the second step of the procurement after the final, but no, outside of that. would
Will
not-
a selection be made from the RFI for a builder and operator?
No. No, the RFI is purely informational. The RFI will come back, the responses will be reviewed, those will be utilized in putting together an RFP, and the RFP will actually be the document that awards the contract.
Connor, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So, going back to Brad's question about the two-car garage, do you have any conceptual drawings or the conceptual drawings that,
For this project,
because the way it sounds, I don't think council's seen any of
There
that.
were, this started as Mr. John indicated, but it sounds like it went back. We had gone down a path, there was a committee, I was on it, and we went down the path, we had seen conceptual drawings, and something has shifted, because there hasn't been discussion. My understanding is, based on this, we had to regroup, potentially because there's maybe differences of opinion, I do not know. And so now it went for RFI to determine potentially the best direction to go in, or at least to recalibrate. And so then it will go for RFP. So when we previously had worked with a firm on design, they are no longer involved, is that correct?
not officially, they'd be part of the RFP, submit an RFP, part of the RFP as well.
I
Tell
I have a question.
Tell me how we're not getting cart before the horse here.
Well, I think I understand the benefit financially to doing something like this so that we can avoid the basis point jump that might happen. But I think from my perspective, is there a solution where we are still have control over the appropriation at the time of the RFP for monies
I
there?
agree. Because I'm for the project, I would be happy to do that, right? We want it to move forward, but I don't want to appropriate the money to just be spent, and we have then no idea what it is.
Is there a possibility that if this, I just want to understand, can we appropriate just pre-construction service dollars and hold off on the appropriation of the construction dollars?
So, as it stands, it's not going to be more than,
I recognize the $6 million, I get that.
and so what you're dealing with the BOT is you're not actually going to transfer any of the money until the project's complete.
No, that's what I asked earlier when you said we were paying for pre-construction.
Yeah.
Well, eventually, sorry.
Okay.
It will, so it will get wrapped in.
That's what I thought, okay. Does everyone understand that clarification? Let me help. So a bot program is, you can define the point in time where you're going to actually pay for the service. In the garage, we paid for pre-construction services and construction throughout because we had a better financial tool for doing that. With this one is a more traditional bot, which we're putting out RFI and RFP, and they're going to go build it, operate it, buy the land, all that other stuff, and then at the end of it, sell us a project that we've agreed to that meets the determination of the RFP, RFI. So we don't actually spend any money until the day that they turn over the keys.
Yeah, that's somewhat helpful, but we have no idea what that is.
So that, I understand that's part of the process.
And I understand your position, you know, okay, you're gonna send out these requests and you wanna know that the money's available. We're in a strong financial position. We don't need to prove to anybody that we're in a position to pay for this thing.
This isn't about the market, yes, you are. You're the strongest county in the
So
state, right?
let's back up.
So
here.
the reasoning for the timing, probably Oscar, if it'd be okay, could speak to.
I have a question before we move to Oscar. So you're 1% of a little over $5 million, so basically $50,000 to rush this project. And I'm concerned, like Brad said, you're trying to get the cart before the horse
Yeah, no, I mean,
for $50,000.
I
There is
don't
no
think that's the
project.
case. I don't think that's the case. I think it's possible.
So,
Okay.
Okay, let's hear words of wisdom.
Councilor Bieber, I don't think I'll ever be able to do that, but, and I can't speak to the RFI, the RFP, or the BOT process, but I can speak about the financing process. There are two reasons of why we would like to get this done prior to year's end. We have to have a project issued before year end in order to be able to capture the payment on next year's levy. So this is in order to have it be part of the budget order for the long-term maintenance of the tax rate. So this is part of the overall maintaining the tax rate without letting it drop and or increase taxes. So this is part of that strategy. So that is the reason for wanting to do it this year. The second reason is, it's also true that we would like to get ahead of rising interest rates. And I believe the next question that you'll probably ask me is, well, why wouldn't we start paying interest if we don't spend it? And the answer is yes, but we can also invest those funds and create some arbitrage savings in the short term to mitigate that, as opposed to having to have a 50 basis points, 1% over 20 years. So we're trying to mitigate months over years, and also we would invest those funds in the short term to make that arbitrage smaller. But the main reason of wanting to get it out is to get it out prior to year's end in order to have it in the budget order for next year. That's the financing component. All the other things, I feel that you'll have enough control as the council to decide what you approve and not approve to go forward. So just having funds at hand doesn't necessarily give, I believe, then the ability to just go and find a two-car garage to be built with $5 million.
How would that be possible if we've already appropriated? And they would ask them for the appropriation next month?
If the appropriation is there, you would still have to have a contract to spend the money on, and
Yeah, well, that's a commissioner's job, not a council's job.
then, again,
Appropriations are our only job.
I
There's no answer for that.
I don't have an answer, I'm not an attorney. I was only speaking to again, I can't speak to this portion of the thing, but I can tell you why we want to get it
It's your
done.
position.
I'm not,
Once we appropriate, it's out of our hands. And as of now, we only got a picture of what we're going to get for $5 million.
if I may offer just one consideration, if you can at least continue to move forward in order to at least have this issued prior to year's end, and then trying to work through that portion simultaneously, you don't have to appropriate it today, and you don't have to appropriate it next meeting. We just have to get it appropriated prior to year's end.
Those are the magic words,
Year's end.
right? We can continue the process, we don't have to appropriate next month.
But we have to appropriate it prior to closing,
Well, that
which
would-
is December.
Well, that would put the onus on whoever wants to build this project, better come up with something, a pretty picture or something.
When are the RFI responses due back?
They're due back to, it's the end of this month, I can't remember the exact date. And part of that too, I haven't had a chance to, but when the RFIs come in and eventually issue the RFP, the idea would be to have a member or two from the council to be on the selection committee. It's be similar to our Baker's Corner one. We had Councilman Alexander that took part in, and obviously I'm not saying that it came from this one, but it'd be similar to that where we'd have a council member that's on the selection committee that would help choose what RFP we would go with for this project. So I do understand that, as Councilman Beaver said, the appropriation is one mechanism of control. You guys would still be involved in the selection of the RFP through the selection committee as well.
So,
And they're due the end of the month.
side note, we talked about this earlier in our work session. As it stands today and what we approved earlier this year, there is a domestic violence shelter committee, 3 members of council that were on that committee. Not a single member knows anything about the shift, is my understanding. I'm one, so correct me if I'm wrong. And I appreciate the one or two when it comes down to the selection, right? But I think there needs to be a bigger discussion because we were all on board and there were commissioners involved as well. And so I just would love to know where it went sideways. So I will just make that known for the record.
Okay, duly noted, and I agree with you. So what I'm saying to the two gentlemen in front of us, I'm in favor of the project also, and I'm willing to vote in favor this evening, as long as you understand we are not appropriating until we see something.
Completely fair.
Okay,
Thank you.
best we can do, isn't it? I don't want to stop the project.
I don't either.
But we cannot continue to go forward into our, not just this project, but other, we don't appropriate the finance first and come up with a project later. That's, we got no comfort level with that.
Okay, anything else? We have a motion and a second. All those in,
And this motion, could I clarify what was the?
It's for the approval.
The
It's
approval.
for the introduction and.
Suspend the rules.
Oh,
No,
we
no,
already-
so suspend the rules, what I think we already did, or is
We already
this-
did that.
Did we vote on it?
No, that's pending, that's
Okay.
the motion pending.
okay,
Now,
so,
you want to continue with that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, second, oh, you got the motion
So we
second,
got the
okay.
motion, this is to suspend the rules.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Okay, now, you need the motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, so I would entertain that motion at this time.
Who made it?
I'll make it.
I'll second. Keep in mind, are we in discussion now?
Yes, we are discussing, go ahead.
Keep in mind that this is all in the financial sequence that Reuter laid out for us. That's why I'm so, if it wasn't already in our
It wouldn't
financial
happen.
plan,
Correct.
it'd go in the trash right now.
Understood.
Okay?
But we need to also have that control over selection and
Yeah.
what's being built, and I can appreciate that, Brad.
Yeah. That's why there's probably not gonna be appropriation next time.
Okay, any other discussion?
Hey, real quick, so just, I want to make sure I understand. So there's two ordinances. There's a bond ordinance and an appropriation ordinance. I assume you're only approving the bonding.
That's correct.
Approving the
I just want to make sure
bond.
that's very clear.
That's correct.
not
The
the
bond is
There's an A and a B.
ordinance.
A is bond, B is appropriation.
Right.
So the motion's for A only, is that right?
Correct.
Correct.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And then on B, right?
There's no B.
Oh,
There is
sorry,
no
he
B.
said.
There's an A and a B in my packet.
No.
It's in the packet, but it's not on the agenda.
Oh, it's not on the agenda.
Hold on. Well, it says bond, introduction of and appropriation, so that was, I think.
This is
appropriating and this is sale of bonds.
Right.
You would not be able to approve the appropriation without a public hearing, so even by suspending the rules, you still could not approve the appropriation. It has to have a public hearing prior to approval.
Okay.
That's all we needed, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to item C on your agenda. Do we need a motion to suspend the rules for item C?
I don't even know what that's for.
Okay, it's a resolution CC 10-05-2022-1.
Yes, I want to make that motion.
Second.
Discussion.
This was recommended this to Mike, it's a financial maneuver.
Okay.
I'm in favor of it.
Okay, any discussion here?
It's supporting operations for Superior Court 7.
Yeah,
So,
Yep.
Right.
just for everyone's notes.
he's did it before for another county, thinks he can get some money for ours. It's not guaranteed, but it's worth a try.
Yep, absolutely. We have a motion, a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, additional appropriations, reductions, and transfers. At this time, I will open the public hearing concerning additional appropriations. Item A, it's Fund 1000, General Fund, requesting $53,857.
So moved.
No, we're moving on.
No?
There's an item A one. We'll move.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, but if you move to the next page, so that's the fund, and then there's subsects of that.
Oh,
so
I'm
this
sorry,
is-
I'm
No,
sorry.
you're
Yep,
fine.
it's all good.
I needed to flip my page.
You're all right.
Thick packet tonight, guys.
Yeah.
Assessor, it's a 144 amendment. The assessor's here if we have any questions for
So
her.
moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item 2, it's the auditor. There's an A and a B. There's an additional appropriation for $13,857 and a transfer for $2,500.
I make a motion to accept A and B.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for A and B. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 3, it's a corner additional for $40,000.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, questions?
Yeah, wait a minute, the coroner's here, isn't he?
Yep.
You wanna run
Yes.
up here and tell us what you need $40,000
People are
for?
dying.
Lots of autopsies.
I suppose it's dying people, but I could be wrong.
It's not.
Well, it's autopsy money.
Cost increases.
Nice.
We run way short on autopsy funds. This time last year, we had 131 autopsies, and we're 157 already this year. And we project out, based on the numbers that we're looking at, we're gonna need funding for another 47 autopsies.
Will this get you there?
Yeah, it will get us there.
Good enough.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item 4, it's court administration. There's a 144 amendment.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item 5, it's ISS. It's a transfer for $100,000.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 6 for the sheriff. At this time, I would like to amend the agenda. Robin, can you, or Don, can you help me with this one?
Yeah, you're amending the agenda to add the 144 for the correction.
That is correct. 2022.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you for getting me through that.
Motion
There's
to combine sheriff A, B, C, and D.
Second.
I only show A, B, and C.
Well, D
You
is
just
added.
added.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Was there a second?
The other one.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 7, soil and water. There's
No, we
a,
have motion to approve.
oh, I'm sorry. Motion
Sheriff
to
A through
approve.
D. I make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm just trying to help us get along here. Item 7, it's a soil and water. It's a 144 amendment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item B on your agenda. It's Fund 1025. It's HCAA Capital Fund. They're requesting $992.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to C, it's Fund 1053. It's HCSWMD. They're requesting $50,000.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Fund 1148 is HCCOAOD. It's a transfer of $12,000.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item E, it's Fund 1152. It's LEPC. It's a transfer, $7,392.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to the Health Fund, it's Fund 1159. It's a 144 amendment.
So moved.
Second.
You want to discuss this $26?
I'm ready to move on. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Fund 1171, it's a major,
Pause.
oh, excuse me?
No, he really does need
There's
$26.
there's an error on the spacing, so that is up next. It's FG.
FG, okay.
Indented.
Fund 1168, health maintenance transfer, 2668.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you for that. Okay, moving on to Fund 1171. It's a major bridge fund. They're requesting $143,841.60.
So moved for discussion.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion?
So half of the, or a portion of this, I think there's two items. There's one for Pleasant Street and one for Bridge 187. The Pleasant Street is part of the bond that we received money. Has that money been appropriated so that they get paid directly out of that? Is Brad here? Brad, can you come up for a second? So in essence, we don't need to do the appropriation for Pleasant Street, just the one for Bridge 187. Is that accurate, Donna Robin?
That's our understanding, because I think when all this was done, Brad, so we had the reimbursement, and so I think it was all timing, so at this point, we won't have to do this out of 1171. You guys will be able to pay this directly out of, is it 4816 or, but out of the proceeds. So that's why they are discussing pulling this request and then it'll come directly out.
187.
We didn't know those proceeds were available,
Yeah.
So Bridge 187 was not part of the proceeds, correct? So I'd like to amend my motion for approval to only be for the infrastructure Bridge 187 for $45,000.
I'll second the amended.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now the other half, Ken?
Nope, we don't.
Okay, we're all done with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to,
Aye.
yeah. Fund 1176, it's motor vehicle highway. They're requesting $9,462.99.
Motion to approve.
Second.
This money is for, I believe it was for utility delays by Frontier on that project. And so it's paying the contractor for the work, the delays that they had. We can seek the reimbursement back from Frontier later if we so choose. That's not usually very successful.
Discussion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to J, there's 4 requests here. We'll start with the first one. It's Fund 1033 AIP 29. They're requesting $8,926.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 2, it's Fund 8221 FWHHA. It's a reimbursement fund appropriation. It's $25,333.56.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Item 3 on your agenda, it's Fund 8286. It's FSSA Community Appropriation. It's $250,000.
So moved.
Seconded.
Wait a minute, is that $250,000? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And then item 4, it's Fund 8950. It's ARPA 2021.
Subsections.
Subsection A, B, and C. We'll take A first.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion here? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to item B, it's a transfer of $81,499. It's returning funds for reappropriation.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. And then the last one is item C. It's a transfer for $24 million to Baker's Corner.
What?
So moved.
Seconded. Connor, you come up for a sec?
Yeah.
Thank you.
24 million.
That's part of the transfer. We've spent the last 2 days talking to each one of you, kind of updating you with some of the more finer details of the project. The last time we talked, and not to take Councilman Beaver's words exactly, but we came to you with essentially just an idea and asking for the $24 million. We've worked through the process. At the last joint council commissioners meeting, there was mention that the project could be over budget, but I would like to say, thanks to Westler Engineering, Reynolds, CJ Taylor, and Steve Wood, they got that project down. The original estimate that was provided by Westler over a year ago was $43,100,000, and the GMAX for this came in at $43,099,400. So it came under the original estimated budget. The nice part about the BOT procurement method is that this will be the guaranteed maximum price. I know there's some add alternates that we might discuss at a later date, but we are in line with that original budget. It did not reduce any of the scope that we promised as well with the flows or the capacity or anything like that. Still the same as it was described to you about a year ago. So with that being said, I have Bob Holden from Westler and Doug Tischbein here from Reynolds. If you guys have any other additional questions, but the short of it is this GMAX came in under the original estimated budget.
So I will say this, the session was informative. I appreciate all the documentation, and I would just say, this should have been the learning lesson on why we like to have things like in the last round of discussion we had on the domestic violence shelter. So thank you for doing the due diligence here.
I apologize, there's miscommunications for the previous one, and we did learn that, and it'll be handled differently going forward.
Thank you.
Connor, I'd like to thank you for all your extra effort you put into this project. I know you spent a lot of hours doing this, so I personally want to thank you for that. You've done a good job. Thank you.
I guess one comment before you leave. Do we need to take any action on any of the other items that we discussed during that?
Not tonight. Tonight is only about the transfer of the $24 million. Like I said, there's some other alternatives we can discuss later, but tonight is the only action we need tonight, and that can be taken tonight, is to approve the transfer of the $24 million out of the $25 million that was originally approved by the ARPA committee.
So then you're going to go to contract, and the ad alternates will be change orders after the contract is issued?
We will start working on a BOT agreement. We will work on that with, we have the TAF law firm, and we'll work with Reynolds on that to get that. Once that is approved, not approved, but once we have drafts of it, we can share that with you all as well. The final piece that we're waiting to kind of get is this GMAX price, and like I said, there are estimate alternates, but there are other funding items, and like I said, that's not something we can take action on tonight. And that will be discussed at likely the ARPA meeting or. That would potentially be, but the contract's going to be for the 24th. Sorry, 43,000, 43 million, I think it was 43,000, 43,099,400, and then change orders after are going to be what we're talking about? The GMAX right now, as I said, is the $43 million number. Some of the ad alternates could be added to the GMAX. Again, that'd be more of a discussion that we can't take action on today. We just want to keep it.
For this body, I don't want to stand in the way of issuing the contract to move forward with that project.
No, we will still be able to enter and start negotiating the contract and get that authorized and signed and taken care of and keep moving forward with this project to meet the ARPA requirements. So.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I
Questions?
just want to congratulate Connor. You're in the big leagues now, man.
I wouldn't go that far. I'm 15, that's all it is.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Connor. We appreciate it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to item 14, announcements. The first one is Sheriff. Do you have anything for us tonight?
I'll just make one comment. We recently hosted a Canine Bloodhound seminar, and there were teams from all across the country and really represented the Sheriff's Department well and Hamilton County. It was put on by Neil Horde. He's our Bloodhound handler, and also some of our previous handlers, our Canine tracking team members, and then also our Citizens Academy. They did a top-notch job, and I've heard comments that some of the best canine training that people have been to, and they just did a really good job representing us, and so I just wanted to let you know about that. You might have seen that in some of the news media. It was on a couple channels. It was in the Star. It was also in the Current, so just wanted to recognize them and a good job that they do.
Thank you for that. It's awesome. Okay, moving on, Council Attorney, do you have anything for us?
Nothing for the group, thank you.
Okay. Last but not least, Madam Auditor.
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And at this time, I will adjourn. Thank you.